This sales script lands me 1 to 2 clients a day that pay me up to $3,000 upfront plus up to $497 every single month. And I'm gonna give it to you completely for free. In this video, I'm gonna show you everything from start to finish so you know exactly how you can do the same and start landing clients for your own agency. And stay with me because later in this video, I'm gonna give you the best objection handles that only 1% of agency owners even know about. But before we get into the script and how you can use it to close clients for your own agency, if you enjoy videos like this where you learn how to make passive income, make sure to turn notifications on so you know when I post a new video, as well as hitting that like button. I hate asking for it, but it really does help out a lot. And as a thank you, here's an embarrassing photo of me. Thanks so much. Now let's get into how you can start closing these clients. So to understand the full sales script, we really need to understand what our offer is, because the better the offer, the easier it's going to be to sell clients on our services. What I like to offer my clients is websites that have back-end automations and AI built into them. So let me show you what I mean by that. So this is an example of a website that I built for a customer of mine. And I know off the bat, it probably looks like a normal website, but there's actually a lot of things happening on the back end and kind of behind the scenes that really separate this website from a normal website. And it's the reason business owners are willing to pay a premium for them. So one of the first things you probably see is this lead form right here. And you probably see this chat widget down here as well. Basically, what these are ways that leads can come into the website and start a conversation with the business owner. And a lot of business owners, they really take a long time to respond to customers. And so this is kind of where our first automation comes into play. So whenever a customer reaches out to us on the website through one of these lead forms, a conversation is actually going to get started on the business owner's behalf with that lead. So we're starting conversations automatically. It's going to start like a natural conversation. You can even tie in AI to these lead forms and start a conversation that way. And so that's one of the reasons that businesses are willing to pay so much, is because you can build in these AI and these automations into the website that normal websites just don't have. So the next thing we can offer to our clients is a calendar booking system. And so not every client's going to need this, but it is a great thing to offer. And these aren't just static calendar systems either. We actually have automations that are going to go off in the background as well. So anytime someone books a time on this calendar, they're going to be getting notified. They're going to be getting followed up with on a regular basis, making sure they actually show up to the appointment. And then even after the appointment, we can have automations fire off asking for Google reviews and things like that, or referrals or recommendations, things like that. And so it's just another service that we can offer to our clients. And it's one of the reasons that our clients are willing to pay a premium, is because we're offering these automations on the back end. We can also offer our clients an estimation tool. And so this is great for your home service guys. So think landscapers, plumbers, HVACers, things like that. This is really where that shines. And so a lot of businesses like this because it saves them a lot of time and kind of weed out anyone that's maybe not a serious customer or serious lead. And basically these are just simple surveys that we can customize. So for a landscaper, this might be, what type of property they're needing work done on. Is it a commercial, residential? How much work are they needing done? Is it one time or is it routine maintenance? Maybe what their budget is. How soon they're looking to get started, all these basic questions, and they can fill out their information. And then just like the other lead forms that we had here, we're going to set this up where the business owner is going to get a copy, and then that lead is also going to get a copy. And then that business owner can go and, call up that customer, call up that lead and try to win that business. So just another great way that we can automate the process for these business owners and save them a lot of time. And it's just a great service that we can offer to them. Another great service we can offer to these businesses is AI receptionists. So these are AI voice bots that basically are hooked up to the person's phone number, and they can answer any questions. They can book appointments. They can pretty much do anything that a normal receptionist could do, but at a fraction of the price, right? So we can charge our clients, anywhere from $297, to $497, even higher, just for that one service. But it's a really great service we can offer to clients. The majority of phone calls go unanswered by business owners. It's like 60% plus. So it's a really untapped market. It's a really great service we can offer to our clients, especially if they're not answering their phone a lot, or maybe want to weed out those spam calls. It's a really great service we can offer them as well. If you're wondering, the software I use to build out all the websites and automations is called Go High Level. If you want to try it out, you can do so using an extended 30-day free trial link below. Normally, High Level only offers 14-day trials, but if you use my link, you'll get an extended 30 days. And if you do, you'll also get over $10,000 of free bonuses, like a full library of ready-to-go website templates, 3 weekly mentoring calls with me, access to custom lead lists so you know exactly who to target, and even more free bonuses to help you grow your agency faster. Now that we understand what to offer to businesses, how do we go about selling them our services? So I just want to quickly go over the cold outreach I do before I actually get on the call with the customer, whether that be a video call or maybe an in-person meeting. This is the cold calling script that I use. And so, you might do your cold outreach through DMs, through email, whatever it might be, but just so you understand a little bit of the context I'm giving the prospect before we actually hop on the meeting. I'm telling them basically I have actually built them a new website for their business and I want to show it to them. So we don't have to build them a whole website. We can actually just use one of the templates. You can use one of my templates, and we just put on their business's logo at the top left corner, and basically that just makes it look like we built the whole website for them. But that's what I'm telling these customers before I hop on the call with them, is that I built them a new website. And if you want to grab this script, you can actually grab it along with the sales script I'm about to go over as well. You can grab both of those linked in the description. Basically, just go to my school community, go into the search bar and type in script, and it'll be one of the first results. You can grab both those scripts there. You can use those, take them, steal them, do whatever you want with them. But I just want to give you a little bit of context before we go into the actual full-on sales script. So now it's time to go through the actual closing framework. So you've got them on the call or the in-person meeting, whatever it is. Now it's time to go through the step-by-step process to make sure that this prospect actually turns into a paying client. And so I've broken it down into 3 parts. The first one is the discovery phase. So this is going to be where you're going to be building rapport. You're going to be, just learning a little bit more about their business and trying to just maybe get any potential objections out of the way early on. That's usually about a 5 to 15 minutes you want to spend there. The next part is going to be the demoing phase. So we're going to go through the website, the automations, the AI, all of that kind of stuff is going to be through there. And then the last part of that is just going to be the closing. This is where we're actually going to go in for the sale. This is where we're going to have to overcome maybe some objections. But I'm going to show you kind of how I go through this closing framework, how we actually can get rid of a lot of those objections early on, so we don't even have to really try to overcome objections in the end. So it makes it really easy if you're just starting out with sales, you don't really know what you're doing. I'm going to show you everything you need to do. But first things first, you want to go ahead and build rapport. So you want to spend at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes doing this. Build rapport with them and just try to learn a little bit more about who they are, maybe about their business, how soon do they start the business, their whole story here. Find things in commonality with them. Maybe you can relate to certain things on, I had a client that when I was closing him, I noticed he had a picture of a motorcycle, and, I love riding motorcycles. And so I just talked to him about motorcycles for 5 minutes. So, find things in commonality. Maybe it's a favorite restaurant or whatever it is. So, build that rapport. Next, you want to go and eliminate any potential objections. One of those being a partner objection. So maybe if their spouse or a business partner is a part of the business decision-making process, go ahead and maybe see if they have a partner, that needs to be on the call with them. If they do, maybe reschedule that call so you don't have to try to, overcome that objection later. Maybe rescheduling or be like, hey, we can go and loop them in, loop in your spouse, whatever. It'll just make it easier. So, they're not trying to explain everything to their spouse later that night, right? Or they're the business partner. So try to eliminate that early on. Next, you want to just disarm them. So you basically want to almost approach this as if you're just like, not necessarily trying to sell them. You're just trying to learn a little bit more about their business, right? You just want to see if you'd even be a good fit for each other. So you're just going to tell them, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you, your business, see what's working, what's not, and just see if there's any even alignment there between us. And so that's kind of disarming them, making just see if are we even a good fit for each other. And immediately kind of lowers their guard a little bit. They feel like they're not walking into a sales presentation, they're more walking into a conversation. So just kind of disarm them and let them know that you have their best interest at heart. Once you've done that, we're going to actually go into the first set of discovery questions. These are kind of more of the soft ones. These are typical ones you might even have asked in the rapport building stage. Is basically just kind of, asking, how long have they been in business? What are their goals for their business? How many, customers do they have, or whatever it might be, things like that. I have a whole list right here. You can go through those on your own time, but just going through, learning a little bit more about their business, and just trying to build more rapport with them. And then as we go down, we want to go ahead and head over to the second set of discovery questions. So these are questions that we kind of already have an answer or a solution to, but we're asking them because we want to go ahead and bring up the problem in their business so then we can show them our solution. So you're not going to want to necessarily ask this question and go in for the solution immediately, right? So for example, if one of the things is an AI receptionist, what does the process look like when someone calls in after hours and maybe when someone isn't available to answer the phone? And so that might be a question that you ask them, and they're going to say, oh, we don't really have a process. I just kind of, try to get to the calls as soon as I can. And so one of our solutions is our AI receptionist. So we're bringing up the pain of, wow, you're missing out on all this business. Like, you don't have a system to get back to these clients in a timely manner, right? So we're bringing up the problem, so then later we can show them the solution to the problem. So this is kind of what the second set of discovery questions is. So I put this throughout this closing framework here, but just repeat what they've told you back to them. It's been shown in psychology that if you literally just repeat like the last sentence that someone told you, it instantly is a great trust builder, right? So one of the best things you can do is just repeat the problems back to them, let them know that you're hearing them and you're working with them to try to find a solution for those problems. So I have that just as a reminder throughout the closing framework, so you can just remember to constantly, repeat back their problems, repeat back, what they're looking for, and build that rapport even more. So we spent the first half of this call literally just building rapport, going over those discovery questions, just trying to make sure we understand their business and just trying to build trust with them. So now it's actually time to get into the demo of the website. And as you can see here, I have it in big red letters: assume the close and sell them the vacation. And so I kind of give an example of what selling the vacation sounds like. Wouldn't it be nice to have a blank, so AI receptionist, so you didn't have to worry about missing phone calls when you're on a job site? That would be an example of selling the vacation, right? And so assuming the close in that is basically, as we go through this website, if they have questions, if they're like, hey, I don't like that image, instead of saying, if you decide to go with us, we can change those images. Instead of saying something like that, saying something like, oh yeah, when we're building your website, we'll make sure that, we make those changes. I'll keep note of that. And you're basically kind of already stating that you're already working together. So throughout this whole framework, we want to assume that we're already working with them and that we're not potentially going to be working with them. So I have that in big letters up here so you can remember that when you're on the sales call, and it stays top of mind. So remember, assume the close and just sell that vacation. But first thing I like to do is I like to pull up their Google profile and their website if they have one, and I'll just kind of review the areas that maybe can be improved on the website, right? So like, where they like, where they don't like, are there images they like? Do they want new images? Do they even have a contact form or a way for leads to reach out to them on the website? All those different things. These are all the things I like to uncover and just kind of figure out, where they're at with their website, so I can, make sure I'm showing them things they actually are going to need and be able to utilize. Next, I just go over the website that we built for them. And like I said, remember, we're using a template, right? So we're just going to put their logo up here in the corner, and then this is going to be their website. So they don't know that this is a template that you may have gotten from me or from High Level, whatever it might be. They just think it's a website that you built completely for them. And so basically, we're just going to kind of go over the website. We're going to show them how it has nice, videos playing in the background, nice imagery, all this nice stuff. We're going to show them all the nice, how it looks really pretty and all that kind of stuff. And just how it's well designed. It's made to actually, point customers towards, whether that be, reaching out to them through one of these lead forms, the chat widget, or maybe an estimation tool. We have the get a free estimate button, whatever it might be. That's the whole idea, right? We're showing them the design of the website is built to actually convert these leads into customers. And then I kind of have here, how we do that. So how we do that, we're going to go into a little bit more about the lead forms and the automations that run behind the scenes with those, the estimation tool. We're going to show them the calendar booking system, all those things. We want to show them how we're converting those leads into the paying customers or into, potential paying customers. So if possible, try to show an example of a website you've already done for someone. I go through this a little bit deeper in my school community, but I talk about getting that first client. It's really important to actually get a free one, because then you have a great thing that you can show as a case study, right? So when you're on the calls, if you can show an example of a website that you've done for someone else, it's a great rapport builder. So if possible, definitely show that and kind of show them like what they've done, what you did for them and how you customized their website, right? So that's a great rapport builder, and I really recommend it if you can do it. Next, we want to explain to them that our websites and even the Google profiles are optimized with SEO in mind. So what I mean by that is the text on the screen right here. It actually goes in depth in the metadata, and I show you how to do all that in my school community. But basically, I just go over everything about how we are optimizing this website for SEO, using the right keywords, and just making it all correct here. So Google's picking up on the website and actually showing it to people that are searching for landscaping services or plumbing services or whatever it might be. And so that's the next thing I like to tell people. Next, I just quickly go over the automations if I haven't already, just basically telling them about how anytime a lead comes to the website, we're just explaining to them, hey, we start a conversation with the lead. So we're sending messages on your behalf, so you don't have to worry about it. Even if a lead comes in to the website at 2 a.m. and you're asleep, we have this automation firing off for you. So, we can immediately start that conversation with them, right then and there, and you don't have to wait to get back to them on your time frame. We're starting that conversation, whether that be through an AI receptionist or an AI chatbot or whatever it might be. Next, I go through my 5-star Google review funnel. And so you can learn more about this in my school community, but basically it's just a way that we can give customers guaranteed 5-star reviews. And lastly, I just go through the Google profile optimization or automations that are tied with a Google profile, whether that be giving them the 5-star reviews, optimizing it for SEO, whatever it might be. I have full trainings on that in my school community, but I basically just go over every service that we offer, and then I let them know that all those conversations and everything that's happening, they can be managed through an app on their phone. So whether they want to do it through text message, email, whatever it might be, all of it can be done through an app on their phone to make it super simple. All right, so you've done the rapport building, you've done the demo, now it's time to actually go in for the close. So this is where the real selling actually begins here. But basically what I like to do is I like to just go and pull up the pricing page or the plan page. You don't even have to show them the price. You can just show them this. The pricing's up here. You can change up these prices as much as you want, depending on what you want to do. But just for this example, I just gave you some typical pricing. But basically what I'll do is I'll just go through and I will just quickly go over each feature that I went over in the demo. I'll just quickly go over it again with them, just so as a refresher, they really understand exactly what it is. And this is kind of where if they have any questions, you can answer those as well. So I'll just kind of go through, answer them all. And I'll tell them the pricing, as I'm going through, be like, yeah, the essentials plan is 97. This is what it includes, growth plan, blah, blah, blah. Go through everything. And then at the end of it, I just look at them and I just say, yeah, but that's pretty much all of it. Which plan do you think makes the most sense for you? And then I'll stop talking. Don't say a word. Just keep your mouth shut. It's going to kill you. To be awkward and silence, just do it. Just be quiet. It shows that I think it's if you stay quiet for at least 8 seconds, I think you close like a third more deals. So just stay quiet. I know it's going to be hard if you've never done this before, but just stay quiet and let them talk themselves into whatever plan they want to go with. So usually they'll be like, oh, I think the growth plan makes the most sense for us. Then you say, I totally agree. I think, the growth plan is exactly what you guys are needing. So what I can do is I'll go ahead and send over the payment information. And while you're filling that out, I'm going to go ahead and get this onboarding form ready for you. And I'll just literally assume the close just like that. That's exactly how I do it. And I would say 9 times out of 10, no one really tries to give me an objection when I do that. I still am to go through some objection handles, but that's how I do it and that's how I close, and it worked really well for me. So another one you can go for is going for the no. So you can kind of combine these different close options if you want, but you just ask them, does this website, does this growth plan seem like a bad idea? Are you opposed to moving forward? Things that are inherently going to make it really easy for the client or the prospect to say no, but when they say no, they're actually saying yes. Because if you tell them, are you opposed to moving forward today? And then they say, well, no, I'm not opposed. Then you can be like, okay, well, sounds good. And you just kind of go in for the close like that. And so, just framing things as a no, but really it's a yes is a great way to get a prospect or, a potential client to close with you by framing it that way. So you can kind of go over the rest of these here. Just really quickly, one of the last things I like to do is I like to eliminate anything they don't need. This is usually kind of a last resort along with the snap discount is, if they are really into maybe, let's say, the growth plan, but they don't want maybe the calendar booking system, I might say, okay, well, that sounds good. Let's go ahead and eliminate the calendar booking system. And I don't want you to pay for things that you don't need. So I can do that. Plan is usually $197, but since you're not going to be using the calendar booking system, we can do it for $177 a month. Does that sound fair enough? Or are you opposed to that? Whatever, however you want to phrase it. So that's a really great one. If you're really close to selling them on a high package and they just maybe don't want one feature, eliminate the features they don't need, and then you can go in for the close that way. Last thing too, a snap discount. If you're really desperate, I say you can do this. I don't like to do it. I think it can devalue your business. But if you're really just getting started, you just want to get a client closed, it's a great way to get a closed client. So let's say someone's really on to the growth plan, they really want it, but they don't want to pay the $197. Maybe they want to pay $97 or whatever it is. You can say, hey, if you move forward today, I will go ahead and give you the growth plan for $97 a month or $147 a month, and give them a snap discount, but frame it like they have to move forward today or else that discount goes away. And then you can, send them the payment information and give them a coupon code to use or whatever it might be, and you can close the sale that way. So if you follow the framework, hopefully you won't have any objections. But one of the things, part of sales, is that objections just naturally happen. And so I've put together the best objection handles that I have come up with that I could find. All those things, I've done hours of research, and these are the best ones that I found that work for me and that work the best. And so I'm just going to quickly go over them with you. But basically, the first one you're going to get, and probably the one you're probably going to get the most, is I need to think about an objection. This isn't a real objection, right? This is just something they're just saying out of habit, but the real objection lies underneath. So the first thing I like to do is find out what the real objection is. So there's a couple ways you can go about it. The first way you can go about it is just say, awesome, most people do need to think about it. What part of it do you need to think about? And they'll be like, oh, it's just a big investment. Boom, money objection, right? You can we can go into overcoming that. But that's to really find out what the objection is. If they're not really giving you anything, you can say, look, I get it. That's totally fine. Like, you need to think about it. Most people do need to think about it. Just shoot me straight though. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like, you hate me, you never want to see me again. 10 being like, you're ready to move forward. You love everything. Probably on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say you're at? And they'll usually be like, oh, I'm at like a 7. I'm at an 8. Be like, okay, why not a 1? And they're gonna go through all the things that they love. Oh, I love the automations. I love, the pricing. I love all that kind of stuff. It just seems like I'm not gonna have the time to put towards this, right? Boom, you just find out, oh, it's a time objection. Okay, so we need to figure out a way to get them more of their time back. Be like, okay, what if we ran an automation like this? And you can kind of go in for the close that way and find their problem and meet them and get them to a 10. And then they'll be like, okay, well, that sounds good. Be like, all right, you're at a 10, great, let's move forward. You just move forward like that. So the 1 to 10 close is a really great way to overcome objections. One of the best ones I like to do, but some other ones I have here, if they say, I need to talk to my partner objection, hopefully we handle this earlier, but sometimes people like to spring it on you. You just ask them and say, hey, let me ask you, what would happen if your partner said no? And they're like, oh, well, I'd probably do it anyway. Boom, you go in for the close, right? Because clearly it's not going to matter if the partner's involved, because they're going to go with it either way, right? And so usually they'll probably say, well, I don't think I would do it. And you say, well, why do you think they would be opposed to this? And then the real objection is going to come out. And usually it's going to be, oh, well, I just don't know if they're okay with me putting the money towards it. So then you can go in towards, oh, well, like, are they not happy with you, getting to the dream state of your business? You can kind of pull on those emotional strings to get the close, right? So that really is a way to uncover what the real objection is. And then you can kind of maybe go back into the 1 to 10 close if you want. But just a real great way of uncovering what the real objection is. Usually it's a financial one. But and if they keep giving you objections, with the spouse one, maybe they're not giving you everything. This is like a last resort. You can say, hey, does your spouse know that you're struggling and trying to get to your goal? And do they approve your situation that you're in? And they're going to say no. And say, then why would they be opposed to you fixing something they already don't approve of? And hey, sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission, right? You can kind of laugh about it and then go in for the close that way. So those are just some great ways that you can close. You can kind of objection handle. But these are ones that have worked really well for me, and they're ones that you should definitely use when you're trying to close someone if they're giving you some objections. So now you know exactly how to sell to prospects, but you may not know how to deliver this service once you have a paying client. So if you want to learn everything on how to turn this into passive income, from setting up your agency to onboarding your clients, then check out my free school community linked below. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're wanting to try and go high level so you can start your own agency, you can do so using the extended 30-day free trial link below as well. And if you do, you'll get a full library of ready to go website templates, 3 weekly mentoring calls with me, access to custom lead lists so you know exactly who to target, and even more free bonuses to help you grow your agency faster. But thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below or text me directly and I'll personally respond to you. But that's all I got for you. I'll see you in the next one.